Looking back at my 20s, I realized that my relationship with money was shaped by a blend of optimism, naivety, and a desire to keep up with those around me. The mistakes I made weren't just slips of the wallet, they were lessons that carved out my approach to finances for the rest of my life. If you're entering your 20s, or even reflecting on your own money mishaps, I hope that sharing my biggest money mistakes helps you make smarter choices, avoid some common pitfalls, and feel less alone in the journey. The first major mistake was underestimating the power of budgeting. In the early years, the thrill of a steady paycheck made me feel invincible. I'd go out to dinner, buy new clothes, and treat myself to coffee almost every day. I saw budgeting as something restrictive, reserved for people who were struggling. I thought, as long as I'm not running out of money before the end of the month, I must be doing fine. But I wasn't tracking where my money was actually going, and the small expenses added up faster than I realized. It wasn't until I had to dip into savings for a routine car repair that I noticed how little was actually left over. Learning to budget wasn't just about saying no to things. It was about understanding my spending habits and making intentional choices that aligned with my goals. Credit cards were another area where my lack of experience cost me. I got my first credit card at 21, attracted by the promise of rewards points and the freedom to buy what I wanted. The minimum payments seemed manageable, and I told myself I'd pay off the balance as soon as I could. But the reality was that it was easy to ignore the accumulating interest. Shopping sprees, vacations, and impulse purchases quickly piled up. I ended up carrying a balance for years, paying far more in interest than I ever earned in rewards. The lesson here was clear. Credit cards aren't free money, and paying off the balance in full every month isn't optional. It's essential if you want to avoid debt traps. Another money mistake was ignoring emergency savings. I thought emergencies were things that happened to other people. I was young, healthy, and had a steady job. What could possibly go wrong? Then, my car broke down, and a trip to the hospital came with unexpected costs. At those moments, I realized how vulnerable I was without a financial cushion. Not having an emergency fund meant I had to rely on credit cards and personal loans, which only made future emergencies harder to handle. Building an emergency fund, even a small one, is one of the most important steps you can take to protect yourself from life's surprises. Lifestyle inflation was also a subtle but powerful drain on my finances. As my income grew, so did my spending. I moved to a nicer apartment, upgraded my electronics, and started going out more often. I justified these choices by telling myself I'd earned them. But I didn't realize that increasing my expenses every time my income rose meant I was never actually getting ahead. It wasn't until I compared my savings rate year over year that I saw how little progress I was making. The real breakthrough came when I started living below my means, regardless of how much I earned, and focused on saving and investing the difference. One of the biggest regrets was not taking investing seriously early on. I was intimidated by the stock market, and the idea of losing money was terrifying. I told myself I'd start investing when I had more money, more knowledge, or more confidence. But by waiting, I missed out on years of potential growth. Compound interest is often called the eighth wonder of the world for a reason. Starting early, even with small amounts, has a massive impact over time. When I finally started investing, I realized that the most important thing wasn't timing the market perfectly, but being consistent and patient. Another mistake was falling for lifestyle traps to keep up with friends. Social media made it easy to compare my life to others. I'd see friends traveling, buying new cars, or moving into beautiful homes, and felt pressure to match their pace. This led to spending on things that didn't actually make me happy, just things that looked good online. Over time, I learned that real fulfillment comes from living in alignment with my values, not from chasing someone else's highlight reel. I also made the error of neglecting to negotiate my salary and benefits. In my first few jobs, I was so grateful to be employed that I accepted offers without question. I didn't realize that negotiating is not only normal, it's expected, and that employers often have room to offer more. By not advocating for myself, I missed out on thousands of dollars in both salary and benefits over the years. Now I know that every raise and negotiation compounds over time, impacting retirement savings, investments, and overall financial stability. Another area where I stumbled was not understanding the true cost of student loans. I took out loans for college without fully grasping how long it would take to pay them off, or how interest would compound over the years. I treated my monthly payments as just another bill, without making extra payments or exploring refinancing options. It wasn't until I calculated the total interest I'd pay over the life of the loan that I realized the importance of tackling debt aggressively and being proactive about managing repayment. I also overlooked the importance of financial literacy. For the longest time, I viewed money as something you just figured out along the way. I didn't seek out books, podcasts, or mentors who could help me understand personal finance. This lack of education led to costly mistakes and missed opportunities. Once I started actively learning about money, reading, listening, and asking questions, I felt more empowered and confident in my decisions. Finally, I wish I'd given more thought to what truly mattered to me, financially and personally. I spent a lot of my 20s chasing external markers of success, thinking they would bring happiness. But the most valuable lesson was learning that money is a tool, not an end in itself. It's there to support your dreams, provide security, and enable you to live the life you want. When you're clear about your values, your financial decisions become easier and more meaningful. In summary, my 20s were filled with financial mistakes, from ignoring budgets and emergency savings to mishandling credit cards and falling for lifestyle inflation. I overlooked the importance of investing early, negotiating my worth, managing student loans, and pursuing financial literacy. But each misstep was an opportunity to learn, grow, and build a stronger foundation for the future. If you're in your 20s or reflecting on your own journey, remember that mistakes are part of the process. What matters most is learning from them, adjusting your course, and using your experiences to build a life that aligns with your goals and values. Financial well-being isn't about perfection. It's about progress, persistence, and purpose. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.